to another episode of the Supernatural Files, while we dive into the unexplained and the weird world of the supernatural realm itself. This week we're going to dive into the fairy world itself, where we are going to see what happens if your children starts to have glowing eyes or magically have deformity like a sixth toe or some other form of deformities on them, because they might just be a changeling in disguise. So you're probably asking yourself, what is a changeling? How do I spot a changeling? Well, you're in luck. A changeling is a creature of many stories in the folklores, fantasy and fairy tales across Eastern Europe and to all of Europe, and we have adapted those stories into the United States. They are regarded as creatures that are placed into the households of humans by fairy or troll creatures. Proceed to kidnap the original child and take them and place the changeling in their place. They are also referred to as an oaf, A-U-F, or oaf, O-A-F. It is a human-like creature found in folklore or folk regions throughout Europe. A changeling was described to be a fairy-like creature that had been placed in the care of human parents, and the human child was actually kidnapped by the fairies themselves. A changeling is usually identified by many various traits. In Irish legend, a fairy child may appear sick and will not grow into the normal size of a normal human, and may have notable characteristics such as a beard or long teeth. They may develop intelligence vastly superior beyond their apparent years, as well as possessing uncanny sight. A common way to identify that if your child is a changeling is by displaying unusual behavior when it thinks it is alone, such as jumping about, dancing, or playing an instrument, though the last one is only found in Irish and Scottish legends. A human baby could be captured due to many factors, such as being a servant of the fairies, the love of a human child, or malice. Most often it was thought that the fairies themselves exchanged the children. In rare cases, the very elderly of the fairy people would be exchanged in a human baby, so that the very old could live in comfort, coddled by the human baby. Simple charms such as an inverted coat or open iron scissors left where the child sleeps were thought to ward them off. Other measures could include keeping a constant eye on the children themselves. Fairies would also take adult humans, especially the newly married and the new mothers. Young adults were often taken to marry the fairies instead, while new mothers were often taken to nurse the fairy babies. Often when an adult was taken instead of a child, an object such as a log was left in their place, enchanted to look like the person. The object in place of the human was said to be sicken and die, to be buried by the human family, while the living person was meant to live among the fairies. Bridget clearly is one of the most well-known cases of an adult to be a changeling by her family. Her husband killed her, attempting to force the fairies to return his real wife. Other folklore suggests that human milk is necessary for fairy children to survive. In these cases, either the newborn child would be switched with the fairy child to be suckled by the human mother, or the human mother would be taken back to the fairy world to breastfeed the fairy children. It is also thought that human midwives were necessary to bring fairy babies into the world. Some stories tell of changelings who forget they are not human and proceed to live a human life. Changelings who do not forget, however, in some stories return to their fairy families, possibly leaving the human families without warning. The human child that was taken may often stay with the fairy family forever, feeling connected to the fate of a changeling. There are families who merely turn their changelings loose into the wilderness. Some folklorists believe that fairies were memories of inhabitants of various regions in Europe who had been driven into hiding by invaders. They held that changelings actually occurred. The hiding people would exchange their own sickly children for the healthy children of the invaders. Now you're probably asking yourself, how do we countermeasure if our child is actually a changeling? Well, you're in luck because we're about to go into the countermeasures. To ward off changelings, people would often use small trinkets in the bed right beside the children, and later it was considered wise to baptize one's children, as it was believed creatures such as trolls would only take unbaptized children. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful, exciting world of how do you spot if your children is a changeling and what to do if they are a changeling, because we all wondered if there is a fairy world out there, because we fantasize it probably day after day, week after week, and year after year, because we have to imagine that us humans, we are not alone in this world, whether it be from people from another planet or people from another realm coming to visit us. We are not alone. So keep that in mind. Next time you see a deformity on a child, maybe they are just a changeling in disguise. Thank you all for joining us. Be sure to hit the red subscribe button down below if you liked it. Thumbs up, click the notification bell to always on so you are notified whenever a future video happens. And leave a comment down below. Until next time, I'll see you in the supernatural realm. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of while we dive into the unexplained and the supernatural realm itself. Well, today we are going to venture into the very frightening, very soul-sucking, known as the succubus. Succubus itself sucks the life and soul out of the human. So let's strap on and go into the succubus's realm itself. Succubus is a supernatural, usually through sexual activity. Online, trying to curb the power of the succubus over the human. Pope Sylvester II was allegedly involved with the succubus Catholic Church. Before he died, he confessed to his sins. Now that we've gotten into the history, let's get into the different, which is